My name is Vanella, and I specialize in transformational thinking. And today I want to talk with you about why men put their hands in their pockets, and especially as it pertains to the officer Derek Chauvin who killed George Floyd in Minnesota. Now, some of you may have noticed that while on the ground, the officer had his knee on George, but the officer also had his left hand in his pocket, and his sidekick eventually put his hands in his pockets. Now, because I work with change and thinking, my observations were on those movements because I was looking at what the behavior was. And I'm like, as many of you where the hands are doing in the pockets. So I wanted to talk with you very briefly about what that means. And I have just added here 8 top reasons why men put their hands in their pockets. And I'm going to go through it with you so that you can understand it. And I will also send this over to Attorney Crump so that they can bring in a body reading person, someone who can read body language. Okay, one of the first reasons why men put their hands in their pockets is that they're attracted to someone. Now, in this case, it's talking about like an attraction that a man may have to a woman. But there was something that caught Derek Chauvin's eye when it came to George. So there wasn't attraction. It was not a relationship type. It wasn't a sexual one. So we need to know, what was that attraction about? Not that he wanted to relate to him as men do oftentimes when they put their hands in their pockets, but in this case there was an attraction. We don't know what it is because there's a piece of the video that is on the body cam that we haven't seen yet, and it's so striking that it when the chief of police and others saw it, they fired these four police officers. The second reason he's cold, like it's cold outside. Well, we know that's not it. That wasn't what. That wasn't why Chauvin put his hands in his pockets. But this one, he's being dominant. Now, this is a very important one to consider because not only is he being dominant, but he's also using that domination over the victim himself and the people who were observing. And when a person doesn't feel confident enough, they support themselves by holding their bodies either across their chest like this, or they put their hands in their pockets, especially men, to kind of shore themselves up, to give them that I'm big and I'm better than you. I'm putting my hands in my pocket. And at the same time, getting some sort of glee, as one of the people who made the video said, he's enjoying this. Well, it was a joy, but it wasn't a confident one. So by putting his hands in his pocket, it gave him that false sense. And he's able to tell people to do things. And if you heard on the video, Derek Chauvin, with his hand in his pocket, is just talking to George, giving him orders. Now the man is already on the ground, but his hand is in his pocket, talking with a deeper voice. I want to know what he sounds like when he's not barking, interrupting people, talking more loudly, touching people, standing in people's personal space, making his body appear larger, putting his hands and feet on things that aren't his, staring at people while also squinting and having a tight jaw, having tight lips. In other words, this man was consumed with something. Now, either he was consumed with some substance or some thinking that came from his past or came from his training as a police officer. And for those of you who want to get more insight into how police officers are trained, read Glasgow's book, Talking with Strangers. It's listed in there. We have a serious problem with how the local police are trained. The other the other reason why men put their hands in their pocket is to feel confident. It gives a sense of confidence that wasn't there before. And I maintain this all the time. Whenever you're using domination, you have already signaled to me that you're not confident. And most people need to program that in our thinking, because people who use domination and force are the least confident people in the world. And that's why they use it. Because if they were confident, they wouldn't have to use it. They would have other gifts, which they don't. And we saw that. So now, one of the contradictions with this one is that when you feel confident, or if you're doing this in order to feel confident, then what you would be doing is maintaining eye contact. Well, I can talk to you because I'm confident. I ain't got to be. No, that's a lack of it. Speaking at a normal pitch, that wasn't happening. And the sidekick began to do more of this. He even put both of his hands in his pockets because he was beginning to fear things. So he needed a double dose, and he didn't get it. To stand or sit with more upright posture. So the sidekick started bustering up to make himself appear to be confident and extend at the neck to appear slightly taller. Well, the sidekick did need to appear a little bit taller. We can all agree with that. Only it wasn't working. The other reason why men put their hands in their pocket is because they feel shy. Can we scratch that one and just keep on going? Restraint. The reason that men put their hands in their pockets could be that they're restraining themselves in some way. Could be that they don't want to seem to be annoyed, and they don't want to seem to be out of control, and they don't want to seem to be disagreeable because there's something that was said or something that was done that they didn't like. So they want to restrain themselves. But when you are, how many of you all ever tried to restrain your own thinking, your own behavior? It takes a lot of effort. And sometimes it almost puts you in a trance. So someone said something or someone did something that Derek Chauvin and the sidekicks, now the sidekicks, I'm using the S word, the letter S at the end, because the sidekicks increased by 2. So now we have 3 sidekicks on that scene and 1 perp, direct perp, and that was Derek. Because Derek was consumed. And Derek did what a lot of people do when they're consumed with rage and insecurity. They get defensive as hell, and they start using body language. So something was said, and then he didn't like it. Now, the other problem with doing something when you're restrained is that you get to glance away from the person, because now you only focus on yourself. And when he got into this posture right here and was trying to restrain his own thinking, his own behavior, he was out of control because it began to be all about him. He was consumed by his own efforts to restrain himself, and it didn't work. So he almost spazzed out. And in doing that, aside from the fact that he's just a ratchet individual, it sounds like to me, he also lost contact with the human he was encountering. So mentally, he had detached from the scene. And here's the part that I want us to really think about and focus on. To look more muscular. Flexing. I used to be a bodybuilder, and when you're bodybuilding, you would flex your arms or whatever part of your body you were working on, just to appear to be more muscular, to show off, to show you have a certain kind of physical power. Well, that's what men do when they put their hands in their pockets. They are flexing, either flexing to signal something to themselves or to give the a sense that they have a little bit more muscle than they actually have. So all of these things were going on. The other goal, the other purpose of flexing is to intimidate those nearby. Now this is important because all of these behaviors, all of these behaviors required an audience. And the more the audience grew, the crazier Derek and the sidekicks became. That's right. And that's why we see the hands in the pockets. So why shouldn't you put your hands in your pockets? There's a subconscious reason for that. The subconscious mind, which thinks in a primitive way, believes that putting your hands in your pockets is a good way to hide and to avoid the situation. Again, putting hands in pockets takes the person away, mentally away from the situation, and all in their heads. It becomes all about them. Everybody else be damned. Putting the hands in one's pocket is sometimes associated with lying. Now, that doesn't mean that when you see people later on, you're going to, and you see them putting their hands in their pockets, you're going to say, oh, that person's lying. Except there are some who will be, and you know them, and they're going to lie whether they have hands or whether they have pockets. That's not the issue. The point is the subconscious mind has a defense built in, and it's a primitive one. It's been there for a long time. It believes that putting your hands in your pockets is a good way to hide and to avoid the situation. And that's part of what happened mentally. So I don't know how this defense is going to shape up, but they've got to include this in here because it's very, very critical information. It is outstanding to watch these people put their hands in their pockets and their knees on somebody's back to kill them. So I will write this up. I will post it for you so you can follow up later on and put some, references on it. But this is why men put their hands in their pockets. And the Marines and the military does not allow you to do that. And there's a reason why. Okay, so that's it for right now. Thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful to you. Bye.